A small salvage crew drifted silently through the empty expanse of space in search of something valuable, an abandoned wreck, a forgotten relic from an ancient civilization, far beyond the reaches of any known maps. Their ship was a simple vessel outfitted with basic tools for exploration and retrieval, yet its crew had a particular kind of hunger for the unknown. They weren't interested in the average scraps of space junk. They sought the treasures lost to time, the kind of find that would change everything. The ship's sensors flickered in the dim light of the distant star, and suddenly there was something, a faint signal, a glimmer of life in a dead sector of space. The crew leaned in closer to the console, unsure if it was just an anomaly or a real find. As they followed the coordinates, the silence around them seemed to deepen, only interrupted by the hum of the ship's engines and the soft murmur of the crew speculating. Then they saw it, a massive shadow in the distance, a hulking shape drifting aimlessly through the void. The wreckage was unlike anything they had encountered before. It wasn't an ordinary derelict ship, nor a space station abandoned to decay. It looked ancient, almost forgotten, as though it had been lost for centuries. The wreckage floated in an eerie stillness, its hull scorched and battered, but still retaining a sense of mystery. "Bring us in closer," the captain ordered, his voice filled with a mix of caution and excitement. The crew followed the command, maneuvering the ship toward the wreck, with precision, their eyes locked on the strange vessel. As they drew closer, the crew could see that the ship wasn't entirely intact. Huge gaping holes marred its surface, as if something powerful had struck it, or perhaps it had been subjected to some long-forgotten battle. The damage was old and weathered, yet there was something about it that seemed important. With a soft thud, the salvage ship docked against the wreck. The crew secured their gear and prepared to board. The eerie silence of the wreck echoed through their radios. As they stepped into the darkened hull, the air inside felt stale, like it hadn't been disturbed in centuries. The walls of the ship were lined with alien symbols, some faded, others still faintly glowing with an unfamiliar light. The team moved cautiously through the wreckage, their footsteps muffled by the thick dust that had settled over the years. Their flashlights illuminated odd structures and mysterious rooms, but nothing immediately useful until they came to the central chamber. It was vast and empty save for a strange metallic structure. In the middle, the walls were lined with strange artifacts, tools, and mechanical parts scattered throughout, but the centerpiece was a strange glowing shard embedded into the floor. It hummed with a faint energy. The moment the crew saw it, they all felt a strange pull, as if something beyond their understanding was calling out to them. One of the engineers crouched down to examine the shard, reaching out to touch it. As his fingers brushed against the cool surface, a shock ran through him, but not painful. It was as though the metal itself was alive, pulsing with energy. He pulled back instinctively, but his curiosity overpowered his fear. "This is it," he whispered. "This is something incredible." The others gathered around as they realized the full potential of their discovery. This was no ordinary relic. It was something far more powerful, something that could change everything, and the crew couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. They had stumbled upon a secret buried deep in the annals of history, something that would alter the course of their civilization forever. Back on Earth, the discovery of the mysterious shard was met with a mixture of excitement and skepticism. A small but elite team of scientists was quickly assembled to analyze the strange object. The moment the shard was brought to their lab, the atmosphere shifted. The team, previously focused on mundane research projects, now found themselves at the heart of a discovery that could change everything. The metallic object, humming with energy, seemed to pulse as if it were alive, its presence both captivating and unsettling. Dr. Evelyn Kane, the lead scientist, was the first to notice something unusual about the shard. Its surface shimmered as if responding to her touch, the metal shifting and changing at a microscopic level. The team marveled at its ability to adapt to its environment, something no material on Earth had ever been able to do. It was as though the shard was waiting for a signal, responding to a language they couldn't yet understand. After weeks of intense study, the breakthrough came unexpectedly. A group of researchers managed to tap into the shard's energy and discovered a hidden frequency buried within its molecular structure. The frequency was unlike anything they had encountered before, a resonance that seemed to match the human brain's neural patterns. This wasn't just a piece of alien technology. It was alive, in a way they had never imagined. It was designed to bond with living beings, to read their intentions, and to amplify their abilities. The team realized they were looking at a form of advanced combat technology, but unlike anything ever seen. This wasn't a simple weapon. It was an extension of the body, a suit of armor that would react to its wearer, adapting to their every move and thought. Dr. Kane immediately saw the potential. This wasn't just a discovery for scientific knowledge. It was a game changer for humanity's defense, and possibly its future in the galaxy. With urgency, the team began testing the shard's capabilities, using animal subjects to understand its effects. When the first successful trial occurred, it was nothing short of extraordinary. The creature, once enclosed in a simple frame of metal, now displayed enhanced strength, speed, and agility. The armor responded to its movements as though it were an extension of the creature's own body, fluid and precise. As the days passed, more tests were conducted, and the results were even more remarkable. The technology could be adapted to humans. The scientists were sure of it. But there was a challenge. The shard was incomplete. It was missing key components that would allow it to function at full capacity. There was only one way to complete it. The team needed to track down more of this alien technology, scattered across the galaxy, hidden among the stars. Humanity now stood on the edge of something monumental. They had unearthed a power far beyond their understanding, and the potential applications were limitless. The technology could revolutionize warfare, defense, and even exploration. It could level the playing field in ways that would forever alter the balance of power across the galaxy. But with this new discovery came a sense of urgency. Earth wasn't the only one to know about the shard. The first whispers of its power had already begun to reach the ears of other galactic factions, many of whom would stop at nothing to seize this technology for themselves. The race was on, and humanity would have to move quickly if it was to retain control of the most powerful discovery in its history. The question was no longer whether the technology could be harnessed, but who would control it when the dust settled. The news of the breakthrough was kept under tight wraps, known only to a small circle of high-ranking officials and scientists. Dr. Evelyn Kane and her team worked around the clock, refining the technology, pushing the boundaries of what they knew. The next step was clear. They had to test the technology on humans. The problem was, no one knew exactly what would happen when a person donned the alien armor. It was uncharted territory, dangerous, exhilarating, and potentially catastrophic. The selection process was rigorous. Only the most elite soldiers from various branches of the military were chosen to volunteer for the test. These were individuals who had proven themselves in combat time and time again, men and women whose physical and mental fortitude could withstand the most grueling challenges. If anyone was going to survive this test, it would be them. Among the volunteers was Captain Jacob "Jake" Mason, a battle-hardened officer with years of combat experience. He was known for his calm under pressure, his ability to think quickly in the heat of battle, and his unshakable resolve. Jake was the first to step forward when the call for volunteers went out. He understood the risks, but he also understood the stakes. If this technology worked, it could revolutionize everything, from personal defense to the fate of entire nations. The world was changing, and Jake was ready to change with it. The first trial was scheduled in a high-security military facility, far away from the public eye. The lab was massive, equipped with the latest military-grade simulations, designed to test everything from hand-to-hand combat to complex battle tactics. Dr. Kane and her team had meticulously prepared the test, but no one truly knew what would happen when the armor interfaced with its human subject. Jake stood in front of the suit, a perfect blend of sleek alien metal and human engineering. The suit was stunning, dark, polished, and intimidating. Its surface shimmered with an ethereal glow, responding to his presence as though it were alive. He felt a jolt of adrenaline as he approached it, his fingers brushing the cool metal. The moment he touched it, the suit seemed to resonate, almost as if it were waiting for him to step inside. With a deep breath, Jake climbed into the armor. It was surprisingly light, the material conforming perfectly to his body. As soon as he was fully encased, a surge of energy coursed through him, and his senses heightened to an almost overwhelming degree. The helmet materialized around his head, sealing the connection between him and the suit. The entire world seemed to slow down as his mind adapted to the sudden influx of information. He could feel the suit reacting to his every thought, every muscle movement, as if it were an extension of his own body. "Captain, are you ready?" Dr. Kane's voice crackled through his earpiece. Jake exhaled slowly, steadying his nerves. "Let's do this." The first test was straightforward. A series of combat simulations designed to gauge the suit's responsiveness to basic movements and commands. Jake's body moved faster than he ever thought possible, each strike precise, each dodge calculated with supernatural speed. The suit adapted instantly, altering its shape to enhance his movements, making every action smoother, more fluid. His reflexes were sharper than ever, his senses heightened beyond what he had ever experienced. The second phase was more intense, a combat simulation that involved multiple opponents, each outfitted with advanced weaponry. Jake faced off against a team of soldiers, their tactics ruthless and their firepower overwhelming. But the suit was with him every step of the way. It anticipated their moves before they made them, adjusting in real time. It didn't just enhance his strength or speed. It was as if the armor could predict the future, responding to his every instinct before he even had the chance to process the situation. The final test was more personal. Dr. Kane ordered a series of psychological challenges designed to see how the suit would respond to stress, fear, and decision-making under pressure. Jake found himself facing moral dilemmas, simulated scenarios that tested his willpower, his ethics, and his ability to remain calm in the most chaotic situations. The suit didn't just enhance his physical abilities. It seemed to tap into his mind, helping him make decisions with surgical precision. When the simulations ended, Jake was left breathless but unharmed. The suit had done its job perfectly, and more. It wasn't just technology. It was a partnership between man and machine, a seamless fusion that allowed him to operate at a level he never thought possible. The success of the test was undeniable. The armor had surpassed all expectations, but as Jake stood in the middle of the simulation room, catching his breath, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What they had unlocked was powerful, dangerous, and now it was in the hands of humanity. The question was, how would they use it, and who would stand in their way? The success of the test sent shockwaves through the highest levels of government and military command. What had once been an obscure research project now had the potential to reshape the future of warfare. Within days, the announcement went public. Humanity had discovered a technology unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. A technology that could enhance human abilities beyond their natural limits and create an entirely new kind of soldier. But the moment the news broke, a firestorm erupted. The global community was no longer in a state of cautious excitement. The balance of power in the universe was in jeopardy. Every major galactic faction, from powerful empires to covert mercenary organizations, began to take notice, and with that attention came the urgent need to control the newfound power. The first sign that something was wrong came when a well-armed fleet appeared just outside Earth's orbit. The Zenter Dominion, one of the largest and most aggressive empires in the galaxy, had dispatched a warship to investigate the claim. Their emissaries demanded access to the technology, offering diplomacy in exchange for cooperation. The implication was clear. If Earth didn't share their discovery, the Dominion would take it by force. Meanwhile, within the walls of Earth's own military installations, a different kind of war was unfolding. Global factions, each with their own vision for how the technology should be used, began to vie for control of the research and its implementation. Some advocated for a peaceful, regulated use of the technology, believing it would be a unifying force for all of humanity. others saw it as the key to securing a dominant position on the galactic stage, a weapon that could guarantee Earth's supremacy. At the same time, private corporations, some with ties to criminal syndicates, began attempting to infiltrate the research facility. The technology, it seemed, was too valuable to be left in the hands of any single government or military. Whoever controlled it would hold the ultimate power, and the pursuit of that power led to a growing network of spies, covert operatives, and black market dealers trying to get their hands on the alien tech. Dr. Evelyn Kane and her team found themselves at the heart of the storm, pulled in every direction by pressure from governments, corporations, and military officials. There were those who tried to bribe them, promising them fortunes in exchange for access to the technology, while others resorted to more drastic measures, attempting to intimidate them into submission. But for Evelyn and the team, the stakes had always been higher than money or power. It was about the future of humanity, and they knew that controlling this new technology meant deciding the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. Captain Jake Mason, still adjusting to his new role as one of the first to experience the armor's power, was called upon for a special mission. His orders were simple: protect the technology at all costs. He was assigned to a covert task force, a team of soldiers tasked with safeguarding the research and neutralizing any threat to its secrecy. But even Jake, with all his experience, knew this mission wouldn't be as straightforward as any other. The true danger, he realized, wasn't the outside threats. It was the growing divisions within humanity itself. Governments wanted control, yes, but so did private interests, rogue factions, and even power-hungry leaders within the very military that had initially worked to develop the technology. It wasn't just a race against alien powers. It was a race against time. As the political tension escalated, the first skirmish broke out. An underground faction, rumored to be supported by the Zenter Dominion, made an attempt to breach the facility where the armor was being tested and refined. Their mission was clear: steal the technology, or destroy it before humanity could fully realize its potential. It was a coordinated attack, using a combination of military-grade weaponry and sabotage tactics designed to overwhelm the facility's defenses. Jake and his team were forced into action, defending not just the research but the very future of Earth's technological advantage. The battle was fierce, with the alien technology proving its worth as the team's armor adapted to the threats in real time. But even with the edge the technology provided, Jake couldn't shake the growing sense of unease. This was only the beginning. The factions were already mobilizing, and Earth was becoming a target. Worse yet, there were whispers that other galactic forces had already begun plotting, waiting for their chance to strike when the time was right. As the dust settled from the initial attack, Jake realized something even more terrifying. The true cost of the technology wasn't just the wars it would incite. It was the internal divisions it would create within humanity itself. Earth was on the precipice of a new era, but whether that era would lead to peace or devastation was yet to be seen. And in the shadows, there were those who would do anything to ensure they had the upper hand when the inevitable conflict arrived. The chaos caused by the initial attack on the research facility sent a clear message to the world. The technology was too powerful to remain a secret, and Earth had become the epicenter of a galactic arms race. However, the true test of humanity's resilience was just beginning. While governments, corporations, and foreign factions scrambled for control, a smaller, more unified force within Earth's military began to make its move. The key was clear. Humanity's advantage lay in their ability to understand and control the technology better than anyone else. It was their ingenuity that could shape the future. Captain Jake Mason stood at the front lines of this new phase. The battle for the alien technology had escalated into a covert war, fought both in the shadows and in the open. Earth had become a chessboard, and every move mattered. The key players, scientists, military strategists, and top government officials, now fully understood the potential of the alien armor. What was once thought to be a mere weapon had become a symbol of human evolution, an evolution that was entirely in humanity's hands. Jake had witnessed the transformation firsthand. The soldiers who wore the armor were no longer just soldiers. They were superhuman warriors, capable of feats that defied reason. Their minds connected to the armor, becoming part of it in ways no one had expected. The adaptive systems built into the suit weren't just for enhancing physical performance. They were a neural interface that bridged the gap between man and machine. Soldiers were learning to think and fight as one with the technology, almost as if the two were symbiotic. Dr. Evelyn Kane, ever the visionary, had recognized the untapped potential of the suit early on. She argued that this technology wasn't simply for combat. It could reshape the very fabric of humanity's society. With proper regulation and careful guidance, it could be used to solve problems beyond warfare, environmental challenges, medical advancements, and even space exploration. The armor could enhance human capabilities in ways that could end starvation, cure diseases, and allow mankind to venture to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. This vision was what kept her motivated amid the constant pressure and threats surrounding the technology. The global powers, however, were divided. Some nations recognized the need for collaboration, hoping to forge a new alliance based on mutual benefit. They argued that if humanity were to thrive in the new era, they would need to share the technology. Others, driven by fear and greed, insisted on keeping it all for themselves, unwilling to trust anyone else with such power. This conflict within humanity itself was just as dangerous as the external threats they faced. As tensions rose, the most unexpected players began to emerge: the people. Ordinary citizens, once uninvolved in the geopolitics of power, began to mobilize. They realized that the armor was not just a tool of war, it was their future, too. In every city, in every corner of the globe, there were protests, debates, and movements calling for more transparency, for shared control of the technology. The message was clear: humanity had a chance to shape its future together, not be torn apart by division and greed. Jake's role in this new era went beyond the battlefield. As the military's primary spokesperson for the new technology, he began to realize that his duty wasn't just to protect it from enemies. It was to ensure that it was used for the right reasons. There was a deeper responsibility to guide the public, to help them understand that this was a moment of choice. How they would wield the power of the alien tech would define not just their place in the galaxy, but the very future of their species. In a historic move, the world's leaders called for a summit, a moment to decide the fate of the technology. It was a tense gathering, with factions on all sides demanding answers. Dr. Kane presented her findings, showing the promise of a unified future, one where the technology could be used to enhance all of humanity, not just a select few. But as the summit unfolded, it became clear that the path forward wouldn't be easy. Some nations wanted to assert dominance, while others feared that humanity was not yet ready for such power. The summit reached a breaking point when it became clear that the military-industrial complex wouldn't be content with just sharing control. Jake Mason, caught between his duty to the military and his growing realization of the stakes, made an unprecedented decision. He stood up in front of the assembly and, with unwavering resolve, declared that humanity's future would only be secure if they worked together, sharing knowledge, resources, and technology. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a voice for the future of humanity itself. The room fell silent. His words, though simple, struck a chord with many. The decision wasn't just about power. It was about humanity's capacity to evolve beyond division and fear. The world had to rise above the temptation of selfishness, of using this power to dominate, and instead, to work together to forge a better future. And just like that, a moment of unity began to take shape. Humanity was on the precipice of an extraordinary new era. How they would navigate it depended on whether they could embrace their greatest strength: cooperation. Would they rise as a unified species, or would they fall to their baser instincts and allow the very power they had discovered to tear them apart? The days following Jake Mason's declaration at the summit were filled with uncertainty. The world's leaders had agreed to a tentative coalition, one that would allow for joint control over the alien technology. But there were deep fractures still lurking beneath the surface. While the majority of nations had pledged to work together for the greater good, a number of influential factions remained resistant to the idea of sharing control. The shadow of greed, distrust, and the thirst for power was not so easily erased. As the months passed, the coalition began to slowly implement regulations governing the use of the technology. Dr. Evelyn Kane and her team continued to study the alien armor, making new breakthroughs that expanded its potential. They discovered that the neural interface not only enhanced physical abilities, but also had the potential to augment cognitive functions. Soldiers trained with the suits began to experience heightened awareness, the ability to process vast amounts of information in seconds, and even telepathic communication. The possibilities were staggering. However, not everyone shared the optimism for a brighter future. The rogue factions that had once attempted to steal the technology were still lurking in the shadows, waiting for their moment to strike. The Zenter Dominion, though temporarily appeased by the summit's agreements, continued to monitor Earth's progress with growing concern. Their spies were everywhere, and it was only a matter of time before they made their move. Jake's role in the military had expanded beyond merely being a soldier. He had become a key figure in the strategic implementation of the technology. His direct experience with the armor, along with his leadership skills, made him an invaluable asset. But as the use of the technology spread, a troubling shift began to take place within the ranks. The soldiers who wore the suits were becoming more than just enhanced warriors. They were becoming something else entirely. The neural connection to the armor was not without consequences. It was becoming apparent that the more a person bonded with the suit, the harder it was to distinguish between their own thoughts and those of the machine. The question of control began to loom large. Jake had seen firsthand the growing dependence on the suits. Soldiers who had once relied on their training and instincts were now relying on the armor to do their thinking for them. The suits had become an extension of their bodies, and in some cases, even their personalities. The boundaries between man and machine were becoming increasingly blurred, and Jake couldn't help but wonder how much longer humanity could retain its individuality before the suits became the dominant force. Meanwhile, Dr. Kane was beginning to uncover darker aspects of the technology. While she had been optimistic about its potential, she was starting to see that the shard's influence wasn't entirely benevolent. There were unknown forces within the technology, dormant patterns that seemed to be guiding its use in ways that even the team couldn't fully understand. The neural connection was not just enhancing human abilities, it was changing the way people thought, the way they viewed the world. The armor seemed to have a will of its own, subtly manipulating its wearers toward a singular purpose, one that was becoming more and more unclear. The tipping point came when the Zenter Dominion finally revealed their true intentions. They had spent months infiltrating Earth's communication systems, analyzing every scrap of data related to the alien technology. And now, they were ready to act. A massive fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's orbit, larger than anything the humans had ever seen. The Dominion's emissaries broadcast a message to Earth, one that shook the very core of the newly formed coalition. "We have watched you, humanity." The voice boomed across all channels, its tone cold and calculating. "You have awakened something ancient, something far beyond your understanding. You are not ready to wield this power, and we will not allow you to. Surrender the technology now, or face the consequences." The message sent a shockwave through Earth's governments. The Zenter Dominion had long been one of the most feared empires in the galaxy, and their message was clear. They were not asking. They were demanding. Earth's military leaders scrambled to respond, but the reality was stark. The Dominion was far more advanced, and their fleet was formidable. The coalition, still struggling to unify its forces, faced an unprecedented challenge. The alien technology could give Earth an edge in the battle, but at what cost? Would it be used to protect humanity, or would it be turned into a weapon of war, pushing Earth further down the path of conflict and division? As Jake Mason prepared for what could be the final stand against the Dominion, He couldn't help but feel the weight of the decision. The world was on the edge of a precipice, teetering between cooperation and chaos. The question was no longer whether humanity could control the alien technology. It was whether humanity could control itself. The tide had shifted, and Earth was now at a crossroads. Would they stand united against the Dominion? Or would they fracture under the pressure, torn apart by the very technology they had unearthed? Jake didn't know the answer, but he understood one thing. The choices made in the coming days would define the future of humanity for generations to come. The Zenter Dominion's message reverberated across the world with terrifying clarity. The massive fleet hovering on the outskirts of Earth's orbit was not a mere threat. It was an ultimatum. They were prepared to annihilate humanity if they did not surrender the alien technology. For the first time since the discovery of the armor, humanity was forced to confront the consequences of their actions. What had begun as a race for power had now turned into a fight for survival. Inside the war rooms of the coalition, leaders were divided. Some advocated for immediate surrender, hoping to avoid destruction by giving the Dominion what they wanted. They feared the might of the Dominion's fleet, knowing that Earth's military, though enhanced by the alien technology, stood no chance against such a force. Others, including Jake Mason, argued fiercely against capitulation. He believed that humanity could defend itself, that the same technology the Dominion sought could be the key to survival. Dr. Evelyn Kane, whose research had brought them to this point, was also on edge. She had spent countless hours studying the alien armor and its effects. But this new development was unlike anything she had prepared for. The Zenter Dominion was no ordinary enemy. Their technological superiority was staggering. Yet Kane was not without hope. She had uncovered something in her recent studies that gave her a glimmer of optimism. The armor, as powerful as it was not the only advantage humanity had. The alien shards that powered the suits had origins that were still largely unknown, but Evelyn had discovered a secondary layer of the technology, a dormant system embedded deep within the armor. This system, if activated correctly, could potentially disrupt the Zenter Dominion's fleet on a scale never before seen. It wasn't just about defense. It was about using the technology to turn the tables in Earth's favor. But there was a catch. Activating the dormant system would require full synchronization between every person wearing the armor. It would be a delicate process, and there was no guarantee it would work. Jake Mason was once again thrust into the heart of the action. As the Dominion's fleet moved closer, he was assigned to lead a special team tasked with initiating the synchronization. The soldiers who wore the armor were the only ones capable of carrying out the process, but the risk was immense. If they failed, they would be wiped out, and Earth's last hope would be lost. Jake knew the stakes. The plan was dangerous, and there was a very real chance that not everyone would make it out alive. But as he prepared for the mission, he found himself haunted by a question. Would humanity rise to the challenge, or would the very power they had discovered consume them? The final gambit was set in motion. As the countdown to the Dominion's arrival ticked closer, Jake and his team underwent an intensive training regimen to prepare for the synchronized activation of the alien technology. The soldiers, each now bonded with the armor in a way that made them far more than just enhanced warriors, would have to connect with each other and the technology in ways that were still not fully understood. Jake stood at the center of the command room, his mind racing. The alien armor was more than just a suit of advanced technology. It had become a part of them, an extension of their thoughts, their instincts. As he looked around the room at the faces of his team, he saw the uncertainty and fear in their eyes. But there was something else there too: resolve. They knew the risks, and they were ready to face them. If Earth was to survive, it would be because they fought for it, together. The plan called for synchronization in the heart of the Dominion's fleet. Jake's team would be transported in, disguised among the hundreds of enemy ships, and they would activate the dormant system from within. The idea was to create a network between their suits, allowing them to tap into the Zenter fleet's command systems. If successful, they could neutralize the Dominion's power, rendering their ships and weapons useless. It was the ultimate gamble, and the odds were slim, but it was all they had. As Jake prepared for the mission, he found himself reflecting on how far humanity had come. The alien technology had opened doors they never could have imagined, and now it had become their last line of defense. He realized that, in the end, it wasn't the technology that would save them. It was their unity. The choice to stand together, to fight as one, was what would determine their future. The time had come. The team suited up, their armor now an extension of their very beings, a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it embraced its collective strength. Jake exchanged a final look with Evelyn, who had stayed behind to guide them through the operation. Her eyes were filled with both hope and fear, but there was no turning back now. As the team was loaded into their transport, the Zenter fleet loomed closer, ready to strike. But Jake Mason knew one thing for sure. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for a future they could call their own, a future that no alien empire would dictate. The final gambit had begun, and the outcome would shape the destiny of not just Earth, but the galaxy itself. The transport ship carrying Jake Mason and his team entered the heart of the Zenter Dominion's fleet, blending in with the chaos of alien vessels, its stealth systems active and working overtime. The countdown had already begun. The entire world, glued to the updates coming from the Coalition, was holding its collective breath. On Earth's surface, cities were bracing for the worst, hoping for a miracle. That miracle was now in the hands of Jake and his team, who, despite knowing the odds, had chosen to stand together and face the impossible. Inside the ship, Jake's thoughts raced as he glanced around at his team. The members of the elite unit were all wearing the alien armor, their neural links already beginning to hum in synchrony. The suits had become extensions of themselves, but this was different. The synchronization they were attempting wasn't just a matter of enhanced physical strength or reflexes. It was a deeper bond, one that could potentially alter the very fabric of their reality. They had to be in perfect harmony to access the dormant system buried within the armor. Failure would mean certain death. The Zenter Dominion's fleet loomed large on their screens, its ships far more advanced than anything humanity had ever faced. The enemy was counting on overwhelming force to crush Earth's resistance. But Jake had seen the power of the armor firsthand, and as the team prepared for the mission, he felt a flicker of hope. He had led many battles, but this one was different. This wasn't just about strength. It was about unity, the heart of humanity itself. The team activated the synchronization protocol. As they did, the neural network inside their suits began to hum with activity. The soldiers' minds started to merge, their thoughts and intentions aligning with the technology. It was an intense, overwhelming experience. For a moment, it was as if they were one collective entity, their individual consciousnesses blending into the core of the armor. Jake could feel it, the immense power surging through him. It was as if the technology was awakening something deep within, an ancient force that had been dormant for centuries. As the synchronization process reached its peak, the dormant system inside the armor came alive. The technology began to communicate with the Zenter fleet, sending out a signal that reverberated through the entire Dominion command structure. The Dominion ships suddenly froze, their systems glitching as the synchronization disrupted their control. Jake's team had tapped into the core of the Zenter's fleet operations, their connection allowing them to override enemy systems. It was the turning point. But the Zenter Dominion was not easily defeated. Within moments, their ships began to fight back, trying to regain control, countering the disruption with countermeasures that were just as advanced. The battle in the heart of the fleet had begun. The team, linked through the neural interface, acted as one, coordinating their efforts seamlessly. They attacked, defended, and navigated through the chaos with precision. Jake, his mind fully connected to the suit, could feel every move the team made as if they were extensions of himself. The alien technology had transformed them into something beyond soldiers. It had made them a force of nature. Together, they pushed back, the Center fleet's controls slipping away, one ship at a time. Their power was fading. The teams synchronized movements, powered by the armor, disabled shields, scrambled weapon systems, and took down command vessels with surgical efficiency. As the battle unfolded, Dr. Evelyn Kane remained on Earth, monitoring their progress and coordinating with the remaining forces. The fight was still raging above them, but humanity's resolve had been made clear. The alien armor wasn't just a weapon. It was a beacon of what humanity could become when it chose cooperation over division. But even as Jake and his team gained the upper hand, the battle was far from won. In the final moments, Jake found himself face to face with the Zenter's flagship, its towering form dominating the skies. It was a last, desperate stand. With the help of his team, Jake initiated the final phase of the plan, a full override of the flagship's systems. It was a high-risk move, one that could destroy the ship or unlock the key to ending the conflict once and for all. But they were running out of time, and Earth's fate hung in the balance. With a final surge of power, Jake and his team synchronized one last time, combining their strength and resolve into a singular force. The flagship's systems collapsed. The Zenter fleet's command center crumbled under their combined onslaught, and the tide of battle turned. The Dominion had no choice but to retreat, their fleet rendered powerless. Back on Earth, the world watched in awe as the Dominion ships pulled away. Jake's voice, calm yet filled with emotion, crackled through the communications channels. "We did it," he said, knowing that they had just secured Earth's future. "We fought as one. We didn't just survive. We chose to stand together." The victory wasn't just military, it was a statement. Humanity had not only defended its right to exist, but it had also proven that unity, cooperation, and the strength of the human spirit were powerful forces in their own right. The alien technology had not only redefined warfare, it had redefined what it meant to be human. As Earth's skies cleared and the last remnants of the Dominion fleet disappeared into the distance, a new dawn broke across the planet. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had passed the test, and with the alien armor now a part of their legacy, they were ready to take their place among the stars.